All right, it is May 1st. Time for a Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. We're way overdue. I know it's been a few weeks, but just been busy spring, just busy everything. But either way, we're going to bring you up to date to what's going on down here at the lake. So the lake level is 657.6, I believe it is. It's been creeping up a little bit. It's normally up close to full pool, maybe a little below by the end of May, the third week of May. What is it, Memorial Day? The holiday, it's usually up, and they start creeping it up. Of course, we've had tons of rain here the last couple weeks, but they've been pulling water too, so it's kind of keeping it, not coming up real fast. But it's been creeping up a little bit. So, at least that's headed in the right direction, I guess, as far as spring, any bedding fish, just so they kind of stays stable, so we have a good spawn. Water temperature, seeing anywhere from 61 to 68, 69, probably, depending on where you're at. It's been fluctuating quite a bit too. Last, week and a half or so, we've had a couple cool fronts, cool nights, and cool rains, which really cools it down pretty quick. How much that matters now, I don't know. I think like some of the bass, or even the crappie that move in, if we get a pretty harsh cool down and it drops that water temp down, 3, 4, maybe 5 degrees, if they already have beds and stuff up there, I think they'll back out. At least the females will back out just a little bit, and you'll notice you don't see any on beds or catch them real shallow until the sun pops, and then they go up. So, but I think we're kind of past that point as far as too much drastic weather drop. If it's 66 and drops to 63, big deal. That's not going to affect them. So we're kind of past that part of it, I think. Water clarity, real big variety, depending on where you're at. We've done quite a bit of stuff mid-lake to upper lake in the last week or so, and we've also been down, run a trip out of Ahana for a couple days, PB2 for a couple days, Shawnee last week, up around Hurricane Deck, and down lake, I'm going to say down lake, Toll Bridge to the Gravois, it's clear. I'm going to say pretty clear, You can see beds, you get way in the backs of these pockets, and you see quite a few beds, you can actually fish for the fish, sight fishing. Now you get in the glaze, up, I don't know, 4 corners and on up, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to see any beds, unless they're super, super shallow. But I have not seen a bed up that way yet. Now I'm fishing for bedding fish, or where they're spawning. Where you believe they'll be spawning, or where you believe there'll be a bed. You fish it kind of the same, but you're not physically looking at the fish on the bed. So the baits change a little bit, and how you work it. Obviously, how you work it. If you're fishing a sight fish, you're going to use different baits. So getting into that, the bass. Like I said, the bass, you can, if you go down lake, you can sight fish, and sight fishing, just kind of your normal baits, white tubes. I like a white crappie gator, 4-inch flipping tube, something you can see the bait, so you can see it out there, see when it gets to that bed, try to hit that sweet spot of that bed that kind of aggravates that fish and gets them to turn around and come back, and a lot of times you'll just see that bait disappear, or he'll pick it up and move it, so of course a white crappie gator flipping tube. Not sure if I should even show these, but these are some white crappie gator swamp bugs.
They just posted it on Facebook.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Okay, so they do have them. We made these, years ago for bed fishing. She just told me Crockett Gator just posted on
The pearl.
the Pearl
Yeah.
for sight fishing, and they are deadly. You throw that in there and let it sit there on that stand-up head, and then the little legs are moving in the bed. They can't resist it. So, those are two real good baits for sight fishing. Then you get into like your wacky rig Cincos, maybe a pink one, a white one. My white ones are over there. I use like a pearl Cinco. Same deal. You're kind of really aggravating those fish, and you're just wanting to see your bait, see where it's at, see if it's in the right position. And like I said, you can really read those fish if you're sight fishing to see where your bait is in that bed that makes that fish come closer to the bed or spin around or stay in that bed. When you hit that sweet spot of that bed, you'll know it because by the way the fish reacts, if he reacts towards it or not. And sometimes it's on the edge, sometimes it's in the middle. It's just odd. It's really odd how different positions or different spots in that bed will make those fish react. So, basically all you're doing, you're flipping into that bed, flipping past it, swimming your bait up to it, letting it drop in it, see how they act, swim it right on by it, see if they'll chase it. Sometimes a white tube with some chartreuse stripes on it, or those tentacles, chartreuse those up where it kind of look like a little bluegill maybe, work. A stick bait, a jerk bait works really good when you get those really aggressive fish, chasing off bluegills. It can be a little tricky around the cables and on the catwalks. But if you see them beds out in the open, you throw a jerk bait past it and jerk that bait and really get it working. And when it gets up to there, kind of stop it and jerk it again. A lot of times they'll come up and they'll crush that jerk bait. So, jerk bait's still working. It's still good bed fish bait. Other baits.
We have a tendency to put the jerk bait away a lot of times, where a jerk bait seems to be your colder water. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to keep it out and use it.
Yep. Other baits for bed fish or round bed fish. And actually in the dirty water, we've been throwing this a lot. Denise has been doing real well with, what is it, go.
Yes, the chug bug is a go-to. It is not only if you can see the fish on the bed on those areas where you believe a bedding fish is going to be, just because maybe water clarity is not going to let you see those fish. But the chug bug is definitely your top water. It is, you cast it out and your retrieve back is, you're not dragging it, you're popping, and it's dragging it off the top, you're not just pulling it across the water. It's all working in the wrist, and it's bam, bam, but you're just jerking, using your wrist to kind of create that disturbance on top of the water. So
dragon and chug bug don't go together.
Right, but I'm talking like, it's a jerk, reel in your slack, jerk. It's a timing.
Keeping it basically sitting in place as long as you can around or close to that bed, and popping it where it's disturbing that surface, and trying to get that thing over the top of that bed or around that bed where that fish is really aggressive and guarding that bed, and a chug bug will get them bass fired up, and they'll come up and they'll bust it. And then also a lot of times we'll use it along with a buzz bait or a spook. I really like a spook walking because it can walk on top. It's a bigger bait. I think it'll get those bass to either come up and hit it. A lot of times a spook, they'll come up and they'll just headbutt that thing, and they'll really flush it out of their area. But what that's doing, especially in the dirty water, is it's basically exposing that bass and where he's at and there's a bed there somewhere,
Right.
and now you can flip it with an assortment of baits.
That's
That you're probably going to be in that bed or around that bed, even though you can't see the fish. So the topwater baits will catch them. You've caught several
Yes.
this week on the chug bug, and you either catch them on it or it will expose the bass and show you where they're at.
Yeah.
Especially on longer casts. As these fish get spooked, people fishing on them, fishing a lot. They get used to that, and they get pretty leery and pretty skittish. So you can make long casts with a spook or chug bug or something like that, where you can't see them bass, and they'll come up and bust it, and now you know where they're at, and now you can make a long cast with something else, to try to catch it.
That's good, because your mentality, your thought is, oh, I didn't get him, or oh, he missed it, or he was just bumping it. And that's a good way to look at it, is the fish is there now because he's presented himself, and now it's like, okay, well, what's my next bait that I can put in front of him?
Right.
So
Another bait, since we're talking about topwater, it's an old bait. This is a head redfin is what it's called, and it's kind of an old school wake bait, or any other wake bait that you can throw in bedding, spawning pockets around where they're spawning. And these are especially the chug bug, the buzz bait, the spook, the redfin. It's good pre-spawn, spawn, and then it's extremely deadly on post-spawn. Just as they're coming off the spawn, and they're kind of going to hang in them little spawning pockets, those spawning areas, and you throw topwater over there. It's slower, it's moving, it's an easy target, and it's deadly for bass, post-spawn bass. We associate topwater a lot with fall and chasing shad, but there's a 2 to 3 week window in the spring when topwaters are deadly, and we're at that right now. From now till the end of May, I'm going to say the whole month of May. Can you catch them a little bit? Absolutely, but right now, while these fish are actively spawning, you've got a lot of them are spawning. You're going to have some late ones that come at the end of May, and they'll spawn into June, but the majority of them are spawning right now. So give it 2 weeks, really probably a week. You're going to have some post spawners. In 2 weeks, you're going to have a lot of post spawners. And the topwater baits are extremely effective. Just working them, fishing, spawning pockets, pea gravel pockets, little pockets off of your bigger creeks, maybe some of your bigger coves, even main lake pockets. Anywhere you think bass are going to spawn, which are generally, your northern banks, the ones that catch a lot of sun. They don't get affected by a lot of wind. They're fairly protected pockets or areas, and sometimes they'll spawn just inside main lake points on little sloped banks, little pea gravel mixed banks, just inside main lake. They don't all go to the very backs, So you can come just inside main lake and get up by the bank and potentially see some bedding fish. And a lot of times them are kind of those particular from main lake to that first spawning pocket. That little stretch of bank there are great for both pre-spawn and then post-spawn. Working those areas really good. And one of my favorite baits and ways to fish that is topwater. Especially this time of year, you cover a lot of water and catch some big ones, and obviously it's topwater. So that's a lot of fun.
And you are, of course, everything's green with pollen. We've also got the oak tree. Is it the oak trees that have those long? That stuff does get wrapped up in your topwater. But continue to throw it. Don't let
Yeah.
that keep you from.
Try to throw in between
Yeah.
the spooks, chug bugs, and things. A lot of times they'll work
They
a little
do.
better. You know, it's a good
Yeah.
time to even throw a frog. You know, like a grass frog. You can skip it underneath them catwalks, skip it underneath cables. You know, and then it's not affected by that pollen, all that pollen. You know, you work that frog just like a chug bug. You just kind of pop it along. You can walk the frog. You know, you can start and stop it. You know, the hookup ratio ain't the best because it's a frog. You got all that rubber, and
Right.
but if you can't throw anything else in there, you know, a frog is deadly in the spring. Also, you know, around the beds or where they've been bedded. So
Right.
other baits, obviously that are really good now. We've been really throwing a lot of Cinco, Wacky Rig Cincos. I'll let you tell them about that. You've been throwing it a lot.
Oh yeah.
Doing real well.
Basically, you're looking at a spinning rod, spinning rod and reel setup for that. Because when you're talking about skipping this underneath those cables, and your target is majority of over the next month and a half, if not longer, this runs all the way into the summer. You're looking at your target is going to be between the bank and that dock. So you're looking at your catwalks, your cables, and you're looking at getting your bait in the
Strike zone.
The strike zone, what I would believe to be the toughest part, the toughest area to get a bait. So your spinning rod and reel setup is very important in a sense that it comes off the spool real easy, so you can really skip this bait in there where it needs to be. I like to throw the Wacky Rig with the Wacky Head setup, and it is the Finesse Gamakatsu Finesse setup. It just gives me the weight, that little bit of extra weight that I need to get my bait underneath the cables. And then as far as my bait, I'm using Bait Caves Slim Stick, and they have them in a variety of colors. I've got green pumpkin here, and I have salted cinnamon color. So that would be my go-to, and it is absolutely getting underneath those cables, letting it drop underneath that foam, maybe getting in that bed that you see, and then working it back slowly to the boat, and hopefully.
Yep. I mean, the Wacky Rig is probably, I'm gonna say probably one of the number one best spawning baits, pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawns. If you're not throwing a top water or something like that. But like she said, she likes throwing it on those little finesse head.
This is an 1/8 ounce.
A little 1/8 ounce. There's a 32nd. I tend to throw it weightless, totally weightless, so it sinks a lot slower, and I can kind of pull it over the top of that bed and just let it sink real slow and give it a couple twitches, and you see it. That's a number 1/0 hook on there, and I know there's a lot of time on trips or whatever, I get people ask about the O-rings on your Wacky Rig. The O-ring, you know, you got a little tool. You slip your Cinco in there, and that O-ring slides out and it goes on your Cinco, and then you can hook your hook through it. It's a great idea, a great concept. You can use your baits a lot longer because once you hook that fish, it slides up that line, your Cinco, and you can reuse it on that O-ring. I myself don't necessarily like that because I don't think my hookup ratio is near as good. That hook, when you have the O-ring, now your hook is in line with that bait compared to this way, it's perpendicular to it. So when they grab it, I seem to get a lot better hookups. And when I'm fishing, I'm not worried about saving Cincos if I'm missing fish. I want to catch fish, so I'm going to do everything I can to get my hookup ratio. And I have just found not using those O-rings, is better for me and hookup ratios. So, we've been using that a lot on trips. I would say that's probably our number one bait here lately.
Yeah.
And that's, been catching a lot of fish on the Cincos.
And it's going to go into the summer months for sure.
Yeah, and then it just keeps getting better from now until June. Other baits, obviously, a shaky head. I don't even know if I have one. I don't have one on. Anyway, just a little 1/4 ounce shaky head, little crocodile shaky pro head with just a mag finesse worm. Also works extremely good on the bottom. Other baits that we're using now and will continue working, your Carolina rig. Carolina rig's excellent now. For a lot of the baits that we're using and time we're in, it's pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn, all in the same month. Because you got the first ones in, you got some coming, you got some finished, all in May. So all these baits are working. But just a good old Carolina rig, out on a main lake point, secondary point, even a long gravelly bank that kind of drops off, just a Carolina rig, and a variety of baits here. Like this is a 3/4 ounce brass bait, weight here, a slide weight, with a bead and then a swivel. And then you can see I've got about, 2.5, 3 foot leader, and the number 3 wide gap hook. And then I like to use a lizard, a Zoom lizard. This is a 6-inch lizard, green pumpkin, and I'll chartreuse that tail. It's kind of just a go-to. Obviously you can use muskrats, or not muskrats. What am I? Brush hogs.
Brush hog. Yeah.
Jeez. Brush hog, baby brush hog, medium-sized brush hog, full-size brush hog. You can switch it up with all those. And then we use a lot of other baits too. Like this is that Zoom Z-Crawl. Baits a little more compact. Like this little Z-Crawl, little double tail. Got a lot of vibration on the sides. That's a deadly little bait too.
Great as a jig trailer.
Great as a jig trailer, but it's great for Carolina rig too. There's just a lot of there's really nothing you can't Carolina rig. You can Carolina rig, like I said, lizards, assortment of trailers, brush hogs, Cincos. You can drag anything behind that. Another really, really deadly combination this time of year, especially when it's pretty calm. The bite gets tough, whether it be pressure, the days, if it's a calm, slick day, just some days you just kind of got finessey. This is another little old school tactic. It's called split shotting. And it's basically a Carolina rig, but you just squeeze a little 1/4 ounce little split shot on your line, and you can vary that. This is about 18 inches. And then I've got a little either 2 or 3 wide gap hook, and that's a French fry. That's a Zoom French fry. They make a fish doctor, a centipede. This is a centipede actually, and green pumpkin. You can put a little chartreuse on it, and you throw that in these little spawning pockets, and just drag that thing along real subtly, and it's extremely effective when it gets tough. And I'm gonna throw it on a spinning rod and reel with braid, and then a leader, probably a 10-pound leader. And it's just extremely deadly. If you're having trouble getting bites, find you a spawn pocket, pea gravel pocket, a rock, baseball, maybe even a softball size rock with a pea gravel mix, and put you a little split shot on there, and just a small, subtle little trailer like that, or bait. This is, like I said, a little centipede, and just throw it up there and say 2-3 foot of water, and just drag that thing out there into about 8-10 foot of water, and you're going to get bites. It's very effective. We've been using that for 30-40 years, so just get you a decent rod, 7-foot rod, and fill it up with braid, your reel with braid, and like I said, 10-pound leader. This is actually a rod, I I can tell you, we bought these at Walmart. These are IM7 Ozark Trail rod that we're using a lot on trips, and they're a pretty good ride for $30, $35. So if you're looking to, it's just something for that. You don't want to spend a fortune. There you go.
Yeah.
Other baits. Right now that's black tube up the river or in that dirty water. I've been flipping a black tube. Fished a little tournament out of Red Fox last weekend, and the water was really dirty up there. We didn't go real far, and we were flipping jigs. We were flipping other baits, and I switched to this black tube and immediately started getting bites. This is just a 4-inch Crocketer super salty flipping tube with the number 4 wide gap Gamakatsu with a 1/4 ounce tungsten weight, 5/16 or 1/4 ounce tungsten weight, and you can really flip it and skip these baits. Actually, a lot better than jigs and other baits. A lot of times that tube will just skip, and you just skip it underneath these catwalks, anywhere you think there might be bedding, underneath these cables, shallow brush, all them fish up there, they were 5 foot and less, so it's a great bait. The only thing with a tube is sometimes your hookup can be tough, but if that's what it takes to get a bite, well, so be it, but you can, on a Crocketer tube, you can squeeze a 4, and sometimes you can even get a 5/0 wide gap hook in there. So we were throwing actually shaky heads, and a lot of times around beds, a shaky head works great, gets bites, but they'll pick that tail up, that bait, and like right here, I was just throwing the mag finesse worm. You put that 1/4 ounce shaky head in there, and the hook comes up to about there, and when that thing's in it, them bedding fish or those bass or those males will pick that tail up, and they'll swim with that, and they'll spit it out. And that happened several times. So I switched to the 4-inch tube to where you flip that in there. If they pick it up, they got the hook in their mouth. It's just a small compact bait. So that's why a tube's so effective. Or even like a smaller Ned rig style.
Like you said, when they've got a hold of it, they've got the hook.
When they've got it, when they're moving it, the hook's in their mouth compared to like a shaky head or a bigger trailer, they can actually pick it up. Too much from the move. So, and all these, like the spawning pockets, pea gravel mix, and I don't care where you're at on the lake. Sometimes they'll bed around the mixture, like they want a little bigger rock presence. Laydowns, big laydowns that lay out in the lake, especially up lake where you got that dirty water. They'll bed right next to a laydown that's in 16, 18, 2 foot of water. They'll make their beds right next to it. So and then also the crappie will do the exact same thing. The crappie, we've been after them crappie quite a bit all winter, and really catching a lot. Up until, what do you say, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, the crappie were in these giant schools. They were under the docks. They were on the side of these big docks in the shade, and they were easy to catch. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I'd say we started seeing them breaking up, and them big schools were breaking up, and half of them were going to the banks. Some were just suspended. Some were hanging out still, and they were a lot more difficult to catch because you couldn't just sit on a big school and make multiple casts and catch multiple.
You would make multiple casts,
you would try, but and like
catch 2 or 3.
Right, and like always, you kind of get stuck on a pattern that's working so good, and bass, crappie, whatever it is, and when they change, you got to change with them, and we've had to make the adjustment with the crappie. So now it's a little more about finding the spawning banks, and a lot of times they're just a long open pea gravel bank. It might be a little pea gravel pocket, you know. And we're just throwing the little Kitex.
Yeah, with fishing as shallow as we're fishing, you're looking at a 16th ounce, 16th ounce for sure. And you are you've got your Kitech, your 3-inch easy shiner, and there are several, of course, different ones out there. Crockegator has one.
We're using it.
Using that also. You just you are casting to the bank and then slowly retrieving it back, and you're in shallow.
Super shallow. Today we went out. We've got a couple trips this weekend, and last week, well, about 2 weeks ago, but last week especially, they were really moving on us, and we were really, I almost want to say, struggling to catch a lot of good ones, because they were all over. They were in between different stages. But we
knew where they were going.
We knew where they were going. Some were there, some weren't. You go in, like she said, you'd catch 2 or 3, and then that was it on one bank. Now today we were out. This morning we went out and we caught several on the same bank, and doing different things, different baits. We were fishing some dirty water, and I like this. A chartreuse and a blue easy shiner, and then I was literally throwing, I believe this was probably a little Bobby Garland, it don't really matter, and a little 16th ounce head, the light head. It allows you to throw it up there. It doesn't get hung up so much. Because this morning we were throwing up in the 6 inches of water, 8 inches of water, and basically letting that bait go to the bottom. And I was moving it. I was literally almost dragging that bait along. I'd kind of pick it up, swim a little bit, and I let it go back down. And that's how we were catching them today. And a lot of the fish we caught today were in 1 foot to 16 inches of water. The boat was sitting in 3 foot of water, and we were throwing to the bank and just reeling it back and letting it kind of basically just drag across these beds, I guess, or where they're spawning, and we did real well. So any kind of shallow brush, a lay down, there was a couple. I mean, the trolling motor was probably sitting in the gravel, and I reached out with the rod alongside a little lay down and caught some crappie, and caught some good ones in 8-10 inches of water. I couldn't see the bottom, so that tells you what color the water was. But you can literally, you cannot fish too shallow,
right?
Especially up lake or in that dirty water. Them fish like to get up in there. Down lake, there's a lot of beds, but you'll notice sometimes you can see those beds. You see the crappie on them, and you can't get them to bite. Right. That when they're up there on that bed, it's just like bass. They're not feeding. And until you can aggravate them, they're kind of hard to bite. But
so target, I would say target those lay downs that you see. You can visibly see them. If not a lay down, just cast it shallow and bring it back. And one thing I did notice today is the boat placement was important, but in certain, depending on your water clarity, I think it's going to be important because you're fishing shallow and you just have to not be sure to wash out what you're fishing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just creep in on it. Don't blow a lot of water over on that shallow, make a lot of disturbance, boil up a bunch of mud. Yeah. Obviously that's not going to do you any good. We caught some in some shallow boat slips this morning. When I say shallow, 3-4 foot of water in the boat slips. We were flipping, casting, or shooting up into them. Let it go to the bottom when we were creeping them along. We caught several like that. She was throwing an easy shiner. When I was swimming it today, I was actually throwing this little white single tail, and I think this might be made by Orky.
Arky maybe.
Arky. They make a twin tail and they make a single tail. This is also
Bobby Garland. Garland has one too that has that swimming tail.
Yeah. Living the Dream has a single tail that works real well. I don't know if Bobby Garland has one or not. I know they do. Apex makes one, and Archie makes one. It doesn't, honestly, it doesn't matter as long as it's turning some water and has a lot of action. This was a little pearl on a little 16th ounce head, and we caught several doing that. So I think honestly, it's more about getting it right in front of the fish. Some days they want an active moving tail. Some days they don't. We shot a couple docks, 10, 12 foot of water. There was a lot of crappie way back. The ones on the docks, they were so far up underneath there, we couldn't really hardly get to them. We were kind of more so, honestly, targeting crappie for trips where we have 2 or 3 people in the boat. And if you're out fishing and you got 2 or 3 people in a boat, obviously if you nose up to a dock to shoot it, half the people in the boat aren't getting enough water. So we're looking for banks that are a little more open, that are holding crappie. So if you're not catching crappie, maybe go run some banks. They were not on rocks. They weren't on steeper banks.
No.
A lot of times we'll catch them on bluffs, on laydowns on bluffs. They weren't there. They just were not there. And I think it might be because the water's so dirty. Mm-hmm. They were shallow, super shallow on pea gravel, and that's going to continue for the next couple weeks.
And really, and it was kind of interesting because if we would get into as shallow as we were fishing, if you weren't in the pea gravel, you would get, your bait would get hung up.
Well,
if we were more into, if we would get into some of those rockier, it would be like, oh, I wasn't working it fast enough. But that's not where they were on the peak. They were on the peak.
They were on pea gravel, and I think because we talked about it, the pea gravel, fishing a straight pea gravel bank, not sand, but pea gravel, it allows you to basically drag that crappie jig without it getting hung up compared to more rock. So it allows you to get down to where they're at, Other baits that are not done, they're definitely not done. They're going to be even better during spawn and then post spawn, and then some of your late spawners. Still spinnerbait, main lake points, windy points, secondary points, and then just banks. The same banks, staging banks, pre-spawn, spawn, post spawn. If you can hear that peacock, our neighbor has a peacock, which is a quarter mile through the woods. And he's also got a couple of roosters.
Roosters that go all day.
We sit on our deck and we hear a peacock. So
anyway,
we just heard it. And I was like, people are going to think we got a peacock. We don't have a peacock.
We don't. He did spend the night one night on our roof, though.
Yeah, we got it.
And we were like, what is that?
We're like, what is that noise? It was a peacock on our roof. So anyway, it's not our peacock.
It's not.
But what I was telling you was spinnerbait, just a big spinnerbait. With a swim bait on the back of it, or like this saber tail by Bait Cave. This is on the back of one of those E-Factor spinnerbaits. Something with a lot of movement. If it's windy and you're not getting bites early or shallow, go out to one of these windy points, especially if that wind's really howling. These fish are extremely aggressive. You can throw it right on the bank and bring it in and work it pretty quick just below the surface and catch some monsters. So spinnerbait's not out yet. Nothing's out right now, really. But these are the baits we're using right now to catch numbers. Yesterday we had a trip, little group trip out of, I say little group, there was 19 guides out of PB2. Great time, a lot of great people. We left PB2. I didn't burn a gallon of gas. So everyone knows there's a lot of fish around PB2. If you're coming down fishing, I gotta tell you, and you don't know where to go, and you're just wanting to catch some fish, it's not my way of fishing, honestly, especially not in tournaments. But we didn't go very far, and these guys had 14, 15, almost 15 pounds. throwing a wacky rig and a shaky head. So, you know, you can, from the glazed bridge to PB2, you can pretty much go on any bank and probably catch them. But besides that, got my boat back. I blew it. The motor blew in the BFL, which was 3 weeks ago, a month ago now.
Yeah.
You know, not even that long. I've had it back a week and a half, I guess.
Yeah.
2 weeks. You know, Gary and Alec and Luke did everything they could to speed up the process. We had to get it turned into the warranty through Mercury. Got me a new power head, brand new power head on it. It's running great. I got 6-7 hours on it now. So it's pretty much through its break-in. So I want to thank them. And just to show you guys, if you need any service on any boats, used boats, you're in the market for a new boat, Sport World Boat Center right there by Hurricane Deck. Got me back on the water, got me going.
They do boat detailing.
Yeah.
They have some used boats. They have new Vexus. They and their service is top notch.
Always have a wide variety of used boats. They've got a couple used boats in there right now that they've got a used Vexus in there. They've got a used Ranger in there. It's got like 40 hours on it, and it is in mint shape. I mean, that boat, and for the price, I mean, either way, you know, if you're in the area, service, new boat, used boat, Sport World Boat Center, right there. It's right next to CG's, where CG's Main Mart. You know, you pull it easy in and out. You can go in, turn around with your boats. The pumps, you know, you pull, fill your boat, your truck, go in and get breakfast, get lunch sandwich. If you're done fishing, you get a pizza, burger.
Ice.
You can sit inside, or you can take it with you. Ice, beer, whatever you want. CG's Main Mart right there next to Sport World Boat Center.
Yeah.
Perfect place.
Troy and
Donna owners in there.
Donna Meyer.
You'll usually see them in there. They got great, you know, I don't necessarily call it service. Well, I guess it would be service.
Yeah.
But restaurants, I don't care where you go, you know. Well, at the lake, we're pretty good as far as friendly service. But, you know, it's one thing about CG's is all their employees are extremely nice, extremely friendly. It means a lot to us as customers. But, you know, in any other restaurants, you go up to Brandon Iron, you go up to Vinny's, you go to Chances Are, Carmelito's. It don't matter. If the service ain't any good, we probably don't go back. I'm sure you're probably the same way. You know, food makes up for a little bit, but service makes up for a lot, is how we look at it. So, anywhere on this west side, it's kind of like I don't know, maybe a requirement on the west side of the lake that you get good service, or people ain't coming back. So that's what you get on this side of the lake. You know, obviously reels, any reel repairs, tackle, Brian's Osage Outdoors, right up there in Loring, just almost across from 135 there, across from Vinny's. They'll take care of you on reels. Ed, Jamie in there. They have some great pizzas. I can't remember what's in that. Anyway, they're making pizzas now. They have great pizzas up there. Stop in and see them if you haven't tried their pizzas. But anywhere on this west side, I promise you, you're going to get great service and great food and good value. You know, so other than that, man, we're obviously we're booking trips as many as we can, trying to get everyone out on the water. We always tell you, please give us an opportunity. We'd love to take you out. We're kind of up into latter May now. We're doing reservations for June already, quite a bit for them. Late May, June, all of June, I'm going to say is right up there with the best time to fish Lake of the Ozarks. You're going to catch a lot of numbers, and you're going to catch size, and with a variety of baits. We throw everything from top water, shaky heads, big 5-6 inch swim baits. Um, I mean, all of it. We throw it all in June. Big jigs, crankbaits, everything, and we catch them, and we catch them good in June. You know, all of June. Trimming's up a little bit. That means they're going to pull some current. That's only going to make it better. You know, July, August, all that we can catch fish every month of the year down here. We just do different things. As you get into summer, it's I would say more about numbers than size. We still catch some size, but the numbers are way up, and that's just a lot of fun. You know, if you don't care about you know, catching big fish, tournament size fish, you just want to catch a lot of numbers and have a lot of fun for yourself, for your grandkids, for your sons, daughters, whatever it is. You know, August is you know, June, July, August is some of the best for that. We get out real early, 5:30 to 9:30, 10, 11. Sometimes we can push it to noon, and we catch them and we have a blast. We have a lot of fun. There's a lot of top water, believe it or not, in the summertime. So either way,
yeah. Nice thing is with the two of us having, we each have our own boat. So the nice thing is if I can't do it, Jim can, or vice versa. So, you know, feel free to definitely give us a call, and we'll do what we can to try to get you in, you know,
between
on the
the two of us, we'll get you out on the water. If not, we work with a lot of great guides down here on the Ozarks, and we will definitely refer you to someone else if we cannot do it ourselves. We'll just make sure you get out with the right people, have a good time, catch fish down here at the lake. So, like we always say, if we can help you with anything down here, we don't care what it is, what it refers to. Give us a call, shoot us a text, and we'll do whatever we can to help you out. You know.
Yeah, and we'll put on our video. We'll add a comment there, and we'll put a business card on there, and feel free to, you know, call either one of us to get on the water.
Give me a call at 573-204-9005, and Denise's.
My number is 314-226-3099.
You can text us anytime. We'll text back and forth. Any questions, whatever it is, and like I said, we'll do whatever we can to help you guys. So, other than that, that's about all we got right now. It was kind of a little short period. We kind of called around the spawn. The next thing is going to be post spawn, and that gets really good. So we won't even cover that right now. We're going to, this, as far from now for, I'll say, the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to get into more post spawn stuff, and we'll really be talking about that. Starting up the next video, I guess we're going to do what is called the wholesale batteries bait breakdown. And what we're going to do is take in all these different baits we always talk about, and we're going to really break it down real intense on the bait, the line, the setup, where to throw it, how to work it, the hooks, you name it, everything around that particular bait.
So pick one bait.
So we're going to pick one particular bait each video, and it's the wholesale batteries bait breakdown. And we will start that up our next video. So look forward to that.
Yes, before we do that, we are going to do a video that is solely for the crappie.
Yeah,
the crappie challenge.
The crappie challenge, which is coming up in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So
we'll need to do that.
Yes. So other than that, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate comments. Any comments? Spread the word. Tell people about this, so we can spread the word for the Ozarks and the fishing down here, and how much a good time you can have here at the Ozarks. Yeah. It's a little bit of everything down here for everybody. I don't care who it is. A lot of entertainment, a lot of restaurants, of course the fishing, the boating, you name it. So
The fishing.
other than that, appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will see you next time.